Good morning all. I am currently sitting in Cambridge at 7:15, waiting to go and look at a job. And the job I've got to look at is in a climbing centre. And I truly hope my reputation hasn't preceded me, that they want me to plaster a wall flat, and with the finish I usually give, it can be used as a climbing wall. So we'll see. We'll see if that's what I'm up here for. Hopefully not. Right, back on my other job now with a cup of coffee, and you just saw some footage of a job that I've got to do in Cambridge, and that's going to be that whole area that I just showed you, the big sort of boarded area. It's in a climbing centre, and that area there is going to be like reception and cafe area, and that will need skimming. So I'm just going to give a price for that. And touch wood, I should get that job, and no reason I won't. It's for an old customer of mine, and he's involved in it somehow. So yeah, I've been recommended, and not recommended for the plastering for the climbing walls. Thank you very much. Climbing up my lumps and bumps. So no, that's going to be specialist, which would be quite nice if I'm there and they're fitting that. That would be quite interesting to film a bit of that. They've got a team coming in to do a climbing wall. So round the perimeter of that whole building, like the back of the warehouse walls, I think they're going to have sort of more sort of slanted walls, and that's going to be for kids to learn to climb on. And I think they said they're going to do like a recognised certificate or qualification for climbing. So the edge is going to be like that, but then in the middle, he showed me the plan. They're going to build these big sort of walls that sort of come out like that, where these climbers can come and sort of underhang. So if they're there building that, that'd be really interesting actually. I don't know how they build it. I've not got a clue. I've no idea how that sort of stuff's made, because obviously you've got to fix all that stuff in properly. So we'll see. If time's up right, I'll be up there at the same time as them. They might even ask me for some tips on how to get the walls so rough. So yeah, so I'll give a price for that later. Now I'm back at the job that I was on yesterday with the electrical rusted socket and the plasterboard to be foamed on. So I'm just going to have a cup of coffee and I'll see you in there. Went to screw fix yesterday, got some more supplies, got a packet of them just to chuck over the furniture. Got two of these for that plasterboard on the wall. I do like this stuff. I really like these guns, they're brilliant. You can use them again and again. I've got some of the other guns, the ones that the proper guns that screw to the thing and then you have to spray it out with the stuff. They always seem to block with me. I'm not the most patient in cleaning stuff out like that, so if I can just use these and throw them away, I've changed to them now, they're much better. Bought myself some new brushes, some decent ones, half decent ones, and I bought a new face plate for that socket, and I got myself two back boxes, one 25mm 135 mil, because I wasn't sure how deep that was. You know, when you think you know, and then you think, oh, I better just get two just in case. They're only cheap, so two of them. All right, so let's. First thing we're going to do is change that socket now, I think. So let's turn the electric off. Right, I'm no electrician at all, so this is not a tutorial on electrics. Please don't copy anything I do. There's much better people online for that. So I'm going to change this. Obviously, one thing I've always got is one of these little testers. Because as a plasterer, you're always around sockets and light switches, and sometimes you do have to take things off. So always carry one of them and always test it first. Don't just switch off the power, then test it. Make sure this is working before you switch the power off. So it should glow up red if this is on. There we go. So let me go and switch the power off. Right, power's off. Test it again. Right, all good. That's my electrical kit. That's all I've got. Now I knocked the little round tabs out and then I just cut that out. It just looks easier to me. I'll just give that a little rub down, lose the edge. And that, actually that will sit there like right under the conduit, so I think that's better. Give a little bit of heart and soul. Alright. That's going nowhere. Right, that's that little job done. Don't like doing things like that really, but sometimes you've got to, haven't you? Sometimes you can't. I can't get an electrician in for that. So anyway, that's that done. Let's get on with this. Something normal. Alright, so I've just taken the faceplate off again and just cut the board to size. Just rested it there. So what I'm going to do now is take the board off, give them bricks behind a little damp down, and then get a load of foam on that board and let it pick up a bit before I squidge it in. So I shall film a bit of that as well. And then I can get the electrics back on. Right, so that's all had a damp down. Filled in some of the deeper holes with that, and I've really laid it on thick on here. I just want that to really go on and stick, obviously. And now I'm going to do the same for that bit. Now that's all in. I've filled all the gaps in with that. Got that there, so I can fix a faceplate on there, get the electric back on, and just leave that to dry for sort of 15-20 minutes. But you don't want to take your eye off this stuff, because obviously it's going to expand a bit, and I can see it, this corner here, there's potential for this to expand further out than the wall, and then you really are bothered in. So pin it back with something, maybe get a little bridge, a brace coming from the floor to there. That looks all right because it's a little bit less. Let's get the level on it for you. So that's already a little bit in, so there's room for expansion there, and if it doesn't expand, it doesn't matter, so I can get that with a plaster. And I think this end is the same. There's a little bit of room there for it to expand, but this bit here is on, so I don't want that to move at all. So what I will do is brace that with something. I'll just put something heavy against it. So just for that little bit, I've just put a bucket of water hard against it, and it's not going to push that back. So I'm going to go and make a cup of tea, let this pick up a bit, and then we can start cutting this foam back then. Actually, no, what I'll do first is get that back on, and I can put the kettle on. Can't do that without that. I'm probably going to foam, let's get my finger out of the way, along there as well. When I put the skirtings on, I'll give that all a hoover, and I'll probably give that a little bit of a PVA or SBR, that bit of brick, and then as I fit the skirtings to that wall, I'll put a bit of that foam down there as well and just give it a little edging in. I don't want them sitting in the middle of no man's land, because when the carpet fitters come and they start using their thing on their knee, where they pump it into the wall with to stretch the carpet, you don't want that you don't want that skirting to have a void behind it, and then the skirting will start tipping in as they're shunting it with their knee. So I want to pack that out, so when they do, it's obviously got something to cushion against. Right, while that's all drying, I'm going to start scraping off all this old loose paint along here from where I ripped the skirting off. I find these scrapers are better, these pull ones, rather than a traditional sort of scraper. These are just much better just to get everything right back. You just go along with these. Great on staircases, you know, up the stringers and everything, because they're sort of flared out at the edges, so they go wider. So you can get into corners with this bit and all sorts. And these blades last for ages. They're so good. You put them on a pole. They really are good. So let's get on with that. When this damp work was done 15-20 years ago, it looks like before it was decorated, there was never any mist coat on it, which is always a no-no really. You've got to put a mist coat on your stuff. Otherwise this happens, and I know it didn't happen to them because they're long gone, but you could probably go all the way up with that, which I don't want to do. Okay, right, that's all PVA'd up now around the edges. I've PVA'd as well there. When they fitted this window, it looks like they filled down to a point, and then, I don't know if you can see that close up, there's like a big ledge there. So it needs filling in there, but I'll build that out with a bit of plaster. Just fill that gap with a plaster and just run it round. So not a massive amount, so I'll get a coat on, then I'll put the scrim on. what you don't want to do is don't really want to put the scrim on first. The middle sinks in, the edges can lap out, so you really want to fill it in first, then bed your scrim onto that first coat. So anyway, let's get on with that. Okay, so now I'll bed the scrim in. It's got something to sit on as well, and you know the back of it is filled in then. I know that plaster will pass through the scrim for the mesh of the scrim, but it's nice to get them gaps filled first and then put the scrim on, and you know you've filled it all up then. So we just let that first coat pick up now. Just let it all pick up, and then same again really, top it up. It shouldn't take long to just do that. And then as the plaster starts to dry, goes a bit tougher, I will just fill in. I'll use it as a bit of a, it's deep enough there to use as a bit of a filler really. Just start building that out. Okay, so lots going on this job at the minute. So that's all second coated and just blended the top in there, first blend. I've got this bit here I'm trying to build out. It's a bit all over the place originally, so I'm just trying to muck in, making that to make it look a bit better. So that can probably be a little brush in and a trail up and maybe a little bit of titivation with something. Also, while that's going on, I've got a cup of tea on the go. Also, I've been given this ceiling one and the walls again. And then while that's drying, I have started to, they asked me just to paint this radiator, but once you start looking at it, you can't just paint it. So it's all had to have a bit of a scrape off. You can see bits everywhere. Just going around with this little thing, really just pulling it off. I'm not going ridiculously mad, but it was really crazed and cracked, so that's all that's come off. And a while ago, I bought one of these. I'm a bit of a sucker for trying out new things. I bought one of these little drill attachments. It goes in your drill, and you get all these little bits of sandpaper with it. And you know, you can do all this lot with it, but it's absolutely a piece of crap. I've tried it a few times. I keep thinking it's going to work for me one day. It doesn't. So enough of all the wasting my time with it. It's all going in that tub, and then that tub is going to be tipped into a bin bag. I've wasted so much, not so much, but about 3 or 4 times over the year or so I've had that. I thought, well, that'd be good. That'll be good for that. And it never is. So I thought it would be good for things like, you know, like sanding things like this down. All them sort of like in and outs, but it's no good because it's on the drill as well. It just wants to keep slipping off to the sides, like, you know, because it's spinning at that sort of rate. It just wants to keep spinning and knocking off. So anyway, that's gone in the bin. So I'm going to give this a bit of a sand over with a bit of sandpaper, maybe a spongy sander, and try and get some undercoat on that, and then continue in there. And I ideally want to get these glossed today, these skirtings. It's quite important I get these skirtings glossed because that wall's got to have wallpaper on it, and I want to give that a couple of days to harden up. So yeah, so I'm sort of everywhere really. Not got a lot of time to sort of stop and film. That's going to need another trail up in a minute. So yeah, let's get on with some of that. Right, I'm getting here with that now. Just building that up slowly. I can't make that any better because the original goes right in and right out. Like, so I'm just getting the bottom section up to there, built back in, because that was all peeling and flaked. So I'll leave that alone for a while. That's had another trail up, which is nearly there now, and I'm just going to use one of these on this radiator in here. Now these are really good, instead of that thing that I had in the end of that drill. These are really good. Scotch-Brite pads. They look like they're cleaning costs, but they're not. You get these out of a good, you know, decorator's merchants. And they're just really rough, so they're really good just for these sort of things, you know. You sort of bend your hand round and get your hand down in them little bits and that. And they're surprisingly tough, so they're good for everything really. Good for skirtings, good for walls. Just to take that little nibs off. So I'm not going too mad with this. Just a light sort of rub down, then I'll give it all the dust down and a hoover up, and then get some undercoat on it. Looking at that red, I'm not going to paint that with a brush, and I'm not going to put oil base through my sprayer. So what I probably will do is pick up a couple of tins of the spray, just a white metal spray from Toolstation or Screwfix, and then I'll give that a couple of sprays tomorrow. I'll drop a little bit of protection down the wall behind that just to protect the wall, and then spray that as much as I can really. It's going to be painful with a brush, and I'm not going to do it right with a brush, so that's the plan for that. Right, I've got my little level because I just wanted to check the height of that skirting. Sorry, I'm not shining very well. Can you see down there? So the laser level from here is just sitting above that skirting now, which is good. And I wasn't sure, although I tried to put this socket back where it originally was, I could have come lower, and I was thinking, oh no, surely I haven't come down within the skirting line. But turning this laser around, let's take it back a bit. It all looks pretty good. It's just, look at that, it's a bit of luck, isn't it? It's just sitting below the socket, so that's good. So I'm going to go and pick the skirting up now, hopefully. And I just wanted to test it above all these missing bits of plaster through here, because, yeah, that's all right, as long as it's above all that, which is all good. because I'm going to try and put foam in them gaps. I'm going to try and stick it with a bit of foam anyway. I think I've said that a few times already. I'm not going to keep repeating myself. It will be boring. Right, so let's just double check along here. So I've got a couple of high spots. So yeah, that will go over that. And that will float over that. So that's good. Right, let's put my mind at rest. Probably done a bit of filling. There's a couple of little hairline cracks in here. A bit of filling here and there. Filled where the curtain pole was, because that's not going back on. Brushed that out ready for the brick acid. That's going to have some acid on it tomorrow. Acid. And hopefully clean that up a bit. I bought a bottle of this stuff here. Which is probably strong enough, but it's probably not industrial stuff. It's only out of Screwfix or wherever it was. It's one of them jobs that there's so many things going on, you can't switch off for a minute because you'll forget something. So I'm just trying to pre-plan everything I'm doing so the next day isn't no wasted time, if you know what I mean. So everything's drying tonight, so that's the sort of stage I'm at really. Plaster's drying, filler's drying. Yeah, so right, I'm going to measure up for this skirting now and whiz off to get it, and hopefully be back tomorrow with a bit of fitting of the skirting as well. So I like to use these little gadgets for measuring these long rooms, so they're pretty good. It's only a cheap one, but Magnuson thing, only out of Screwfix, but they're good. So you just turn them on, and what that sign means there, you can see that little arrow goes down. The one just to the right of the sort of picture, it goes down to the bottom of it where my thumb is there. So that indicates that when you take your measurement from the wall, you're measuring from the bottom of this little unit. Now you can change that to go to the top of the unit. So you might have to put your hand sort of inside something. I don't know why you'd need that, I'm not sure really, but so that will measure from here. But I always just use it from the bottom, and that way you put your thing against the wall. So hold that to the wall. There's a red dot that comes off of it, which is there. Press the button, and that will give you a reading. So 5.166, so 5.2 really. So we're saying that wall's 5.2. Let's do the same on the other wall. Same again. Hold that there. That against the wall. Put the red dot just on the architrave. Push the button. And that's 3.6. So I'm going to take a photo of them two measurements. So I've just taken a So I've just taken a photograph of that screen so I don't forget the measurements. I think this has got like a last memory anyway in it. And that's it then. Right, I'm going to have a look at some skirting now, and hopefully catch you all back here tomorrow for a bit more. Still looking good out there, but it's miserable. Look. It's been raining and horrible, so I've not been out there today.